Hello and welcome back here to the Lame Sheep Racing's British Touring Car Series as we head out for the 10th, 11th and 12th round of competition. And this is going to be interesting to see who is going to find their way towards the front. There is no Thomas Brown once again this evening, which means the man who's taken 3 of the 9 wins so far this season will not be finding any more tonight. It also means the man who's taken pole twice will not be finding a third. However, the man who took pole last week at Donington Park, David Johansson, has full opportunity here to find his way back to the very front. It was the champion of the winter season. Of course, a different points scheme in place, and with 2 weeks being dropped in the championship, it does mean that after a very dominant run at Donington Park last time out, and crucially, a penalty applied to Lazark Smith following the contact on the final lap of the race in race number 3 that demoted Johansson off the podium. He was reinstated into 3rd position. Joe Coffin then took the race win, his 2nd win of the season as well. But with those 2 drop weeks being applied as qualifying goes on in the background here, this is how the championship standings look heading into this week, with only the best week currently counting. And of course, we will see how it stands at the end of the 3 races that are about to come your way. David Johansson does lead down 3 points ahead of Matt Neal. Joe Coffin finds himself in 3rd position. And the man with the most wins so far this season, Thomas Brown, finds himself in 4th. It will be interesting with the drop weeks to see how the championship is affected. Hayden Ahmed is sitting in 5th position right now, ahead of Thomas Batchelor. Riley Pogue there in 7th, ahead of Carl Thompson. Ben Kaiser sits in 9th position after going out for the first time last week. And James Lazark Smith rounds out the top 10 in the championship right now, heading into this one. This is your order down to the bottom 20 then. And again, it's only counting the best results so far of your 3 race weekends that have currently been applied. We will have another opportunity today, and it'll be interesting to see what some of our newcomers are able to do. James Leroux, Jan Kasparek, Lawrence De Dapper, all stepping in for the first time here today to see what they are able to do in the touring cars, and 2 of the 3 of them racing under the Sim Racing Grid banner. Does mean that Duff right now is the only man in the championship that has already competed without any points to his name. How is that going to turn out at the end of this evening's race? We will find out. Of course, a great calendar lining up for us after we leave Snetterton here today. We head out next Sunday around Knockhill for rounds 13, 14 and 15, and what would have been the halfway point of our championship, but we've added an extra 3 rounds at Brands Hatch at the end of this season, so we had to 11 weeks of asking instead of just 10. We head across to Silverstone International for the first time in league history for the 16th, 17th and 18th round before we head across to Thruxton on March 29th. April will then start with a return to Knockhill. We go to reverse before we just visit circuits we've been to before all through April. We go back to Silverstone but for the national circuit, back to Donington Park for the GP loop, before we end the season off at Brands Hatch around the GP loop there for the 31st, 32nd and 33rd round of asking. The winter season was done and dusted early doors by David Johansson. The point system really came into play to help him out with that one. Is it going to come into play again this season to help our drivers out? We shall have to wait and see. At the moment then in this session, with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left on the board, David Johansson is your fastest man out there right now, and he is 0.3 of a second quicker than his teammate Ben Kaiser, who he is pulling around the track at the moment. They have also got a very big competitor in the name of Alpha Corsa behind them, Matt Neal. Again, Neal racing with a broken left foot. If you weren't around for the Porsches, that did not stop him from taking race 1 victory, however. Will we see rain in this evening of racing as well, like we saw in the Porsches. It is only one to guess. And a different change that has been implemented as this is still a league in its early stages of its life. Obviously only the second season of competition here. There are a few adaptations to some of our rules, and the big adaptation to the rule here today is the inverted grid for race number 3. No longer will the inverted grid be the top 15 drivers, which were all of our points finishers. Instead, it will be randomized each race. Of course, the way that the limitations are with iRacing, they aren't fully randomized. If you do dig down deep enough into the files, you will find out who will be on pole position for the final race, obviously set from the race 2 grid with a certain number of driver flips. I have got the benefit of seeing what the invert is going to be. However, we will keep that to ourselves until the end of race number 2, just in case any of our drivers out there are listening. And with that being said, 50 seconds on the board means most drivers will be finishing their current laps and will not get another one on the board. And it looks like it is going to be a front row lockout for the Sim Racing Grid teammates at the very front of this one. Of course, a few other Sim Racing Grid drivers out there as well. And also, we've got, oh, that is not a place to park the car from Lawrence to Dapper there. Absolutely collected here in qualifying. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought it was Cam McKay. It was not Cam McKay there that was caught up in that one. But a big old hit. This is James Leroux chasing down James Lazark-Smith, and it's just increasing the amount of Jameses out there, as we also got James Paisley-Knight, of course, as well. Paisley-Knight without a lap time on the board, though, and we're qualifying over. It means we are going to see 3 drivers without lap times on the board in the end of this one. Let's have a little look then at how race number 1 is going to go. They will set themselves up from the results of that qualifying session. David Johansson will find his way to pole position for a second time this season, and we'll be looking to try and turn that into another race 1 victory. It'll be Ben Kaiser, his teammate, alongside, ahead of James Lazark-Smith. Matt Neal from 4th, ahead of James Leroux, as we see 3 Sim Racing Grids inside the top 5. Matt Neal, the odd duck there in the Alfa Corsa. Cam McKay sits in 6th position. Janis Salaborski starts in 7th ahead of Jan Mild. Hayden Ahmed from 9th on the grid. And James Potter from 10th. Marek Lolius will start this one on 11th ahead of Pete Paver. Then it'll be Jan Kasperek in 13th. Eduardo Zamora in 14th position ahead of Lawrence de Dapper. Riley Pogue will start this one in 16th on the grid without getting a lap time on the board. Neither did Adam Baker. He'll start from 17th, and neither did James Paisley-Knight, who'll start from 18th and the very back of the field. If you're new around here and you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that follow button here. We've got a super weekend coming up once again. It's our second super weekend of the season next week. We've got back-to-back super weekends coming up as well. So make sure you are hitting that follow button here on the Twitch page. And you're also heading across to our YouTube channel as well to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the highlight videos. And you can catch up on all of the previous races, the full race replays over there as well. Not only from the LSR series, but from a variety of different championships that we show. A big change has just happened. You saw it, I saw it, we all saw that happen. So did the drivers, many of them making last-second decisions here. It is wet tyres for most of the field. James Lazark-Smith is staying on the dries. Adam Baker is staying on the dries. Paver and Zamora. Paver and Zamora will both miss the grid here. We get going here for round number 10, as we've once again got a strategy call in play. Most drivers out there on wet compound tyres. Not, however, James Lazark-Smith. He's out there on the dries. If you're wondering why and you're watching the highlight videos, it's because we had a small sprinkle of rain before the start of this one. Lazark-Smith goes to the outside of Johansson. These two drivers came together at Donington Park. It resulted in a penalty for Lazark-Smith. He has gone straight into it. back into a fight with Johansson there. There is absolutely no love lost between these two drivers, but the man on dry tyres is wanting to find his way to the very front of this field. Adam Baker is the other driver out there on dry tyres. He's down in 16th position right now. To the outside goes Lazarus Smith on Johansson, trying to get the speed. He looks to switch over. Johansson goes defensive, and once again, these two drivers are coming to blows early doors, and there is contact once again. Lazarus Smith off the circuit again, a sprinkling of rain there. Lazarus Smith knows he needs to make this move quickly to take full advantage of the dry tyres and try to gain as much of a gap as possible early doors in this one. Lazarus Smith moves to the right-hand side of the circuit here. He has got the overlap, but it will be the inside line for Johansson. Is Johansson going to stick it up his inside? No. Johansson backs out of it, allows Lazarus Smith to take the lead in this race. There's contact between the two of them yet again here. But James Lazarus Smith on the dry compounder tyres takes the lead in this one. Everyone else on the wet compound here. It is a bold choice to make. We saw the rain falling. It continues to fall again on and off. Lazarus Smith hoping the 15 minutes of competition will not be long enough for the rain to come down hard enough. As this race continues, a lot of drivers struggling on these wet compounder tyres because it is very much dry out there at the moment. It's almost everyone goes wide at the final corner. All of them will be picking up off tracks, and they'll be trying not to get penalties there as we watch Jan Kasparak here look to the inside of Adam Baker. Baker, however, dives to the inside of Lawrence De Dapper. De Dapper holds the position ahead in 13th place right now as overtake from Jan Mild up to 7th past James Potter as well, and Riley Pogue looking to move up the order from the rear of the field. He's on a very wide line there. You can see it is still very dry out there right now, and it is given Lazarus Smith an advantage. It won't be a lasting advantage though. Will that rain continue to fall and play havoc on Lazarus Smith's chances here? Lazarus Smith, of course, did cross the line, race victor in race number 3 last time out at Donington Park. He was handed a post-race penalty following a steward's review, and it meant that he finished that race in 4th position in the end. Johansson, though, got the speed, and Lazarus Smith is already starting to struggle on those dry compounder tyres as the rain is just hanging in the air. It is lingering here, but Lazarus Smith just risking it on these dry tyres. Matt Neal risked it on dries in the second of the Porsche Cup races. He's out there on wets though and looking to try and take what would be his 3rd win of the season. Johansson looking to do the same as well. Now, interesting statistic going into this one. Every driver who has managed to take a fastest lap in the race so far this season has managed to take fastest lap in all 3 races. It has not necessarily been your pole sitter, but Thomas Brown did it at Brands Hatch, all 3 races. Matt Neal did it as we have a conga line off the circuit there, starting with De Dapper through to Kasparak, into Pogue, into Paver, all of them missing that braking point, showing that these wet tyres, they're just not there yet, but Lazarus Smith on the dries is proving it is better than the dry compounder tyres. He has lost time to Johansson, and right now he is just keeping Matt Neal and Ben Kaiser at bay. What I was going to say though is that David Johansson has taken the fastest lap at Donington Park all 3 races. That was to the outside of Matt Neal. He moved up into 2nd position. Lazarus Smith, I think, is quickly regretting his choices in the first race of the day here. There is still not a lot of rain forming. It is just slightly wet out there. It's not that wet, but it is causing enough of an issue for our drivers that they are just struggling on those dry tyres. Adam Baker all the way to the rear of the field as Janis Zalaborski will have to come down pit lane. What has happened to Zalaborski out of turn number 1? Was it contact? Oh, he's moved across ever so slightly in front of Hayden Ahmed there. Ahmed squeezed him out to the outside, that was for sure, but Zalaborski turned across just a little bit too much, and then for good measure, Paisley Knight Ahmed's teammate drives into him as well through turn number 2, but that means Janis Soliborski will drop out of points-paying positions to come and visit pit lane. Of course, the top 15 will be scoring points here today. Even if the top 15 aren't reversed, you still want to be in there to gain your points, and it is going to be Dapper to the inside of Pogue there. He's going to have to hold around the outside here as there's further contact, and in comes Pete Paver in this battle for 13th position. Paver moves up to 14th now, and Pogue looking to pull away from this one. Dapper trying to hold onto the outside, and he does have the speed there, as that is Soliborski still trying to get his damaged car around the racing circuit right now, and James Lazick-Smith just continues to fall down the order here as Adam Baker's out of this race and has gone down pit lane. Lazick-Smith also having issues as once again we see cars going off. This time it is the damaged Soliborski. He stays very much out of the way there. Is he going to stay out of the way of Jan Kasparek as well? He certainly is. As we jump back up towards the midfield fight here. Paisley Knight looking to try and get a top 10. He just needs to get past Lazick-Smith, who is running on those tri-compounded tyres. Lazick-Smith, though, thinking it's not worth coming down pit lane for this one. I'm going to stay right here, and in the background, we see all sorts of cars going off, including Soliborski is off wide. That was Dapper going very wide. It was Paver off as well. Pogue being the driver to stay most on circuit there. We're talking about on circuit. Lelius just did that as Lazick-Smith falling down the order and has an opportunity to hold on to Paisley Knight here. Paisley Knight goes to his inside up towards turn number 2. Lazick-Smith is going to be stuck on the outside, and there's just nothing he can do on those dry compounded tyres. Everyone was on dries, but the moment we got the spots of rain during the gridding process, we saw everyone apart from Lazick-Smith and Baker come back into the garage to put on the wet compounder tyres. We're about halfway through this race then. We are expecting, my timings say 8. I would say we're lucky if we get to 8. I'm thinking more 7. But we'll see what we're able to do. These conditions making it less likely to get to 8 here, as that was Hayden Ahmed running slightly wide there, but he kept it on the track for the most part and trying to catch up to James Potter here for a potential 6th position in this race as we head up towards the back straight and along towards the Bentley straight. They all settle themselves down for the time being here in their various positions. Pogue, however, looks to get up the inside of the ever-slow James Lazick-Smith on those dry compounded tyres, and as the circuit just gets wetter and wetter, Lazick-Smith is going to find himself further and further down the field, and he is only about 2.5 seconds away from being out of the point. No, sorry, he is 7 seconds away from being out of the points, 2.5 seconds away to the driver of Kasparek, who will knock Lazick-Smith down to 15th, but you can see James just still struggling out there. Cam McKay looking to try and get past Hayden Ahmed here. He gets all over the rear end through the double right-hander and up towards the final turn here. Onto the brakes there, and it was a slightly heavier onto the brakes for McKay as once again we get that sprinkling of rain. It's been nothing too heavy here, but the sprinkling of rain has been enough to just make this circuit absolutely soaking wet. And I'll tell you, if it was just that sprinkle before the start of the race, sticking on the dries would have been the choice to go for from James Lazick-Smith, but with the fact that it continued to rain, there was no way that he was going to be able to hold on to that one. James Potter is looking to try and get into 5th position here ahead of Jan Mild. Mild, of course, has taken a victory in the British Touring Car Series before. He did it back at Donington Park in conditions like these, but it was when he was the only driver to have started the race on wet tyres. Everyone else started on dries. The wets were the ones to be on. They are the ones to be on here again, but it's not helping him out too much as James Potter looks to the inside to try and move up to 5th position. He lets Mild get that outside line. Mild goes deep though, and it will be side by side here between Mild and Potter. Potter keeps it to the inside, will tuck back behind at the moment. We'll have to wait for just a minute to try and make that move as Jan Kasparek has found himself around at turn number 1. It was a bit of an oversteer moment on those wet compounded tyres in these wet conditions. Potter once again gets over the rear end of Jan Mild here, and Matt Neal is trying to keep up with David Johansson at the front right now. It is looking like Johansson has just got that speed at the very front of the field right at the moment. But that being said, it does close down to about 1.5 seconds. It opens up a little bit again as they get themselves out of what was this really slow compact of corners, as that is going to be Hayden Ahmed now looking to try and get past James Potter potentially for 6th position. He'll have to remain behind at the moment, and Jan Kasperak here in his first race is going to take points, it looks like, and will take 1 point in this one as Lazark Smith falls from 3rd on the grid down to 13th on the grid right now, as he is out of points paying positions in the number 1 machine, as Lawrence De Dapper also goes off the circuit there and loses out to Riley Pogue, as De Dapper completely missed his braking point. In fact, that's why he was off the circuit. He came back across, fortunately avoiding Pogue, and yeah, that was just completely missing his braking point. Trying not to slam on the brakes and lose the car too much. He overshoots the track on recovery, but he then does get back on behind Pogue, but ahead of Pete Paver by about 0.4 of a second right now. Keeping an eye on the gap at the very front, because it does seem to be closing ever so slightly, as that's the 8 of Hayden Ahmed in a very, very slow pit manoeuvre of James Potter. There was about 5 seconds that Hayden Ahmed could have come off of the throttle in that one to avoid that accident. There, that entire time, he continues to accelerate there. Hayden Ahmed could have stopped that incident from happening very early on, but he sticks his foot to the floor. Hayden Ahmed does lose out to Cam McKay, but it is a real shame for James Potter, who now finds himself in 11th and just ahead of this fight with De Dapper and Paver in a 12th and 13th position as we come through the middle part of the 300 course, as we get 2 minutes left to go on the first of 3 races today. Lazark Smith finds himself down pit lane. It looks like out of this race, as Pete Paver makes a bit of a moment there. He does collect it all together though, just losing the rear end for just a moment, and he gets it back going the right way. He's got 12 seconds down to Eduardo Zamora, so unless he makes a major accident in that point, he will be taking points for 13th position in this race. Of course, top 15 score points in the touring cars, and we will have a look at how the championships are standing after the first 3 races. Of course, with drop weeks being applied, it means we cannot look during the first 2 races of the day, because we'll just be looking at weeks with previous races reapplied. The white flag comes out here on the 7th lap of asking De Dapper, chasing down James Potter for a potential 11th position in this one. Matt Neal has closed that gap down to David Johansson to 1.5 seconds. I just don't think it's going to be enough. James Paisley Knight falls down a couple of positions as he runs off the circuit in 10th. He's also just fallen behind James Potter as they battle it out live as well. And here they are coming up towards the timing line to go on to their final lap of asking. Are we going to see 3 wide here up towards turn number 1? We certainly are! Paisley Knight to the inside and De Dapper on the outside. It was Potter in the middle, but De Dapper comes out on top. Paisley Knight comes out in 11th, Potter in 12th position. They somehow survived a 3 wide into turn 1 in wet conditions, but what a run that was there. But it means that Potter now down to 12th position. We watch Liolis here. He is trying to chase up to Hayden Ahmed, but these are some good points for the Retro Motorsport driver if he is able to come home in 8th position here. The gap at the front down to 1.2 seconds, but unless Johansson makes a major issue into the final sector here, he is very likely going to take his 3rd win of the season. It will be a record-breaking 10th win in series history. David Johansson looking to be the first man to go double digits. He's got to hold this 1 second advantage over Matt Neal. It does keep on closing, but I think Johansson's just been trying to keep it safe. Could be reaching the limit on his instant points and doesn't want to receive a penalty. It closes as Matt Neal pushes hard. But out of the final corner, David Johansson will cross the line. Race victor. Matt Neal comes home in second, and Sim Racing Grid will take a podium in third as well. Ben Kaiser takes home third position, and James Leroux in his debut makes it a 1-3-4 for Sim Racing Grid, will take home fourth. Jan Mild will come across the line in fifth position to keep McKay at bay. Hayden Ahmed takes home seventh ahead of Marek Lalius. Riley Pogue will come across the line to take home ninth, and Lawrence De Dapper will round out the top 10 in this race. James Pacey Knight will cross the line in 11th ahead of James Potter. Pete Paver will take home 13th position in this one. That's, I was going to say, it looked like there was a change in position between Pacey Knight and Potter. There wasn't. It's just my timing screen doesn't always update straight away. And now up towards the timing line. Zamora will come across the line to finish 14th position in this race. 15th will go the way of Jan Kasparek in his debut race. He will also get a point for Sim Racing Grid as well. It will just be the singular point, but he beats out Janusz Zalaborski, who will come home in 16th position. Lazarus Smith down and out in the end after making a bold choice onto the dries. It just didn't work out. Same with Adam Baker, both of them out before the end of the race. But with that being said, your results are on your left-hand side, and that will be the end of race number 1. And we have race number 2 about to begin here, and the grid will be the results from race number 1. So as they do get themselves onto the grid here for the second race of the day, let's talk us through how they're going to start. It will be the same finishing order from race 1. It's still wet out there, so drivers will be putting the wet tyres back on. David Johansson will start this one on pole, ahead of Matt Neal alongside. Ben Kaiser will be starting in third, with James Leroux in fourth. Jan Mild will be in fifth position, and Cam McKay will start this one in sixth. Hayden Ahmed in seventh, ahead of Marek Lolius. Riley Pogue will start in ninth, Lawrence De Dapper in 10th. James Pacey Knight will start this one in 11th, ahead of James Potter. Then Pete Paver in 13th, Eduardo Zamora in 14th, ahead of Kasparek, Zalaborski, Lazarus Smith, and Baker. It looks like everyone going for the wet tyres in race number 2 here. Not many drivers. No drivers at the moment thinking that the drives will work. We saw it not work out for Lazarus Smith or Baker in race number 1 there, so we expect the same here in race number 2. Everyone on wet sand. Lawrence De Dapper does not make it to the grid. 15 minutes on the board. And we are away here for race number 2, round number 11 here, and already we are going fighting up at the front and towards the background here as we come up towards turn number 1. It is settling down for the Sim Racing Grids, looking to try and find their way all the way and take the full podium, but at the moment Matt Neal is stopping that from happening as he looks back up the inside of Ben Kaiser here, and Matt Neal will return back into second position if he can hold that inside line, which he certainly does, and Kaiser drops down into third position. Riley Pogue here looking to try and get the outside of Cam McKay up towards turn number 3, and that outside line is going to work out for Pogue. It's a little bit of contact, another little bit of contact, but Pogue up to 7th position on the race start here. James Potter looking to move back up the order as well. He's got Marek Lolius to try and get to the inside of as they all head through towards turn number 5 here. Potter to the inside of Lolius. That's being pushed behind from Pacey Knight. Slightly off just ahead was Pogue, and it's going to invite McKay back up the inside here, and McKay is going to return to 7th position for the time being. Pogue, though, will remain side by side up towards the breaking points, and to the inside goes Riley Pogue. He'll drop out behind, and Cam McKay will stay ahead. Behind, though, it is still drivers trying to find their way into settling down. Pete Paver, though, doesn't want to settle down. He wants to get the inside of James Paisley Knight as a number of cars run wide onto the back straight there, including Mark Lolius that's invited James Paisley Knight to the inside. That's Lazik Smith. After a bold tyre choice gone wrong in race number 1, he's looking to move past Pete Paver. He is up to 12th position now, and behind Lolius and Paisley Knight just up ahead onto the braking zone they go. And they will hold on to that position. Jan Mild trying to do something with this one, looking to try and get past James Leroux. Mild, again, I said it earlier, he has taken one victory in this series before, but it's been in changeable conditions that have worked out to his favour. He runs around in 5th right now, looking for a really strong performance if he can dispatch Leroux, but Ahmed, thinking otherwise, goes to the inside of the final turn there. A little bit of a nudge between the two drivers, but Mild will remain in 5th position ahead of Hayden Ahmed. Riley Pogue looks to the outside of Cam McKay there, across the timing line. He does get it. McKay, though, is he going to look back to the inside into turn 1? No, he will have to remain behind, and he's got James Potter just behind. And Lazik Smith also trying to move back up the order, up into right now. Of course, the top 15 are your points paying positions. We will see an invert of a randomly selected number after this race for the grid onto race number 3. We will talk that invert through when we go through the race results. Hayden Ahmed here looking to try and move past Jan Mild back into the top 5 position, but Mild is having an absolutely great run at the moment. Of course, finishing race number 1 in 5th position and looking to try and take that with him into race number 2 and have what would be an extremely strong result for the Retro Motorsport driver. As we've got his teammate chasing on behind. This is Mark Lolius chasing on in 11th position as well, looking to try and get part of this big fight that's going on up ahead. Talking about up ahead, at the moment Johansson has only been able to pull out a half a second advantage over Matt Neal, and that does keep on closing down here. Neal has a true opportunity to try and take a win here, as Johansson's taken 3 this season as well. Can Matt Neal find 3 wins this season as Paisley Knight makes his way past Cam McKay, and now looking to potentially get a move on to Potter as Potter leads them into the heavy braking zone and back up towards the front here, because Matt Neal goes down to less than 0.2 of a second off of the rear of David Johansson, and he really does have an opportunity to try and take victory away from Johansson. Of course, Johansson able to win the first and second race at Donington Park last week. Can he go for the double again? Only once has the triple ever been completed in a race 1, 2 and 3 victory, and it was David Johansson who did that. He almost did it for a second time at Donington Park. Unfortunately not able to do that. Matt Neal, fastest man out there right now, and he does take that purple lap with him. It will be an additional point, of course. I missed who got the fastest lap in race number 1. We head on to the brakes there. I think it was Johansson before the rain started to come down who was able to put the fastest lap on the race in, because we were able to do it in the opening couple of laps. As Riley Pogue now to the outside of Hayden Ahmed, looking to try potentially get the switch back, as Ahmed still looking to try and dispatch Jan Mild here in 5th position. Ahmed's to the inside. Mild leaves the door open, but by leaving the door open there, he actually runs on the drier line on the outside, not getting over the pedals there, and it means that Jan Mild is just able to hold on to this one as we continue along through the laps. This is Paisley Knight trying to get to the inside of James Potter onto the brakes, and he does so. It looks like Potter was trying to get the switch back there, and he does get the speed on the exit as well, and Potter returns up to 8th position, and that was Pete Paver facing the wrong way there through turn number 4. That is a real shame, as we continue to watch this little bit of a fight going on. Ahmed and Pogue swapped around momentarily, but they found themselves back the other way. And was it contact for Paver? It was contact there from Soloborski that sent Paver facing the wrong way, and now to the rear of this field as well. Pogue looks for a moment to the inside on Hayden Ahmed, trying to put himself in the mirrors and say, hey, I'm here. Trying to cause Ahmed to maybe go a little bit deep, make a bit of a mistake into the braking zone, but no, they run through without any issues here, and we continue to watch Riley Pogue chasing down on Hayden Ahmed. It's a bit of a slide there from Ahmed. Pogue looks to the inside, and they are going to run side by side here up towards the final turn through the low cloud cover here onto the brakes. Ahmed will have the inside. Pogue trying to do the switch back there. But he just tried to turn to the left a bit too early as Johansson took the purple. Neil then stole it away as he continues to try and close down this gap at the very front of the field and try to make a move here. Is Neil going to make a move to the outside? He is. It's going to be very deep though for the Alpha Corsa driver, and the sim racing grid of David Johansson is going to remain at the front of the field right now. Ben Kaiser is doing a great job holding on into third position, and new boy James Leroux is holding on to fourth position as it stands. And I have to say, it's nice to see some familiar names that we're not used to seeing towards the front get quicker and quicker as every week goes on. Jan Miles showing some good pace today, but even Hayden Ahmed has been going good pace as Matt Neal has made his way into the lead of the race here. And he's done it at turn 4. And we are going to, I think 4, it might have been 5. Let's have a little bit of a look then at how that has happened. It looks like Johansson has made a mistake onto the brakes. He has. Johansson has gone very deep onto the grass, in fact. And it's just allowed Matt Neal to make that move through, but Johansson is not looking to back out of it. He goes to the inside here, and we have a side-by-side battle for the race lead. Johansson to the inside of Neal. Neal will not be able to keep it in there. Can Johansson keep it on the circuit? He certainly does. Neal will have to remain behind at the moment, but after running deep and off the circuit from David Johansson, losing it down to second, he returns to the lead of the race here with 6 minutes left on the board. We're looking at about 4 more laps of racing. We've got 8 laps of racing. No, we've got 7 laps of racing, I believe it was, in race number 1. So we could see just 3 more laps as we come up to the timing line with these wet conditions. David Johansson ahead of Matt Neal as James Potter has found himself facing the wrong way, and this is how that one's occurred. It looks like it might have been contact with James Paisley Knight. No, it was all in his own from Potter. It was a slide and then over-correcting it, and fortunately no one else collected in that one, but James Potter now down to 14th position. Jan Kasparek looking to take points in this one is just behind, but Pete Paver looking to try and take away that final points paying position in this fight right now as we watch Riley Pogue all over the rear of Hayden Ahmed. This remains the fight for 5th that is being led by Jan Mild. 5 minutes to go in this one as we see the cars through the distant fog. It very much is extremely cloudy out there. It has been all evening long in the Porsches and in the touring cars. Of course, if you missed the Porsches, they come on an hour before the touring cars as our support series races. Make sure you're tuning in from 6 p.m. on GMT on a Sunday, and you can watch that one. And if you don't want to miss out any of the races and you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that follow button here on Joseph Wright TV on the Twitch page, and you'll be notified when we go live. We've got our second super weekend of the season coming up next weekend. 6 broadcasts in the space of 3 days, and what a great selection we have. Touring cars will be back out. We've also got the next round on the Matt Malone Patron League. We've got endurance racing going on, and then we of course got the Porsches, the touring cars again next week, and our roulette league. Lots going on over the course of next weekend. So make sure if you haven't done so already, you hit that follow button here. We watch this fight at the very front of the field. David Johansson ahead of Matt Neal. There's also a fight going on for Janis Salaborski and Eduardo Zamora, 12th and 13th position in this one, and they are looking to take points. Of course, top 15 score points. We will see a random invert after race number 2 to set the grid for race number 3, and we will talk about that momentarily, but Riley Poe gets to the inside of Hayden Ahmed and looking to hold on to 6th position here and gets onto the braking zone, and there's contact from Ahmed. Poe keeps it facing the right way, but he's off the circuit, and Hayden Ahmed will hold himself in 6th position there. As let's have a look at how that one originally occurred here as we watch Riley Pogue. And it was a mistake from Ahmed through bomb hole, and Riley Pogue goes to the inside and makes that move. Cam McKay gets past Lolius as well, but here comes Mark Lolius to try and get back to the inside up towards turn number 2. He can't quite do it, will have to remain behind in 10th, looking to see if McKay goes a bit deep, and he goes slow onto the curbing there to keep Lolius behind. But Cam McKay holds on to a top 10 as we return to our fight for the lead, as Matt Neal has got just 2.5 minutes left in this second race of the day to try and take a race victory away from David Johansson. That's a big side though from Neal. He keeps it facing the correct direction, and he goes to the outside. It's very late on the brakes there, but he keeps it in. Matt Neal is looking to make the outside line work. He slows down early to switch across onto the Bentley straight, but a massively late braking moment there for Matt Neal. It almost turned into overtake for race victory. We should not discount James Lazark-Smith in this race, by the way. He has regained it up to 9th position after starting in 16th due to the dry tyre choice in race number 1. We continue to watch this fight in the very front of the field here, as Johansson is 0.2 of a second ahead of Matt Neal. Cam McKay, though, looking to try and do something. We return to the fight from the front, because this is the one for the race lead. There's a little bit of a nudge on the rear end there. Neal will drop behind. Here comes McKay to the inside. It will turn to the outside, but Cam McKay gets the glass there and will be down the position. This will be the final lap of the race as our drivers come up towards the timing line. Matt Neal has just one more lap to try and make his way past the defending champion, David Johansson, the championship leader, we should say as well. And out of this one, I believe he'll still be the championship leader, even with Thomas Brown and Matt Neal's worst results. The drop weeks coming back into play, because of course with 3 weeks completed, only 1 week is currently counting for our drivers. Hayden Ahmed looking to try and take 6th off of Riley Pogue, as Pogue moves back up into 6th through turn number 1. As they come through the exit of turn number 2 there, Pogue is going to hold on to 6th position right now. Neal all over the rear end of Johansson. Johansson gets really slow through the hairpin there, trying his hardest to just back up Matt Neal here, not let Neal get a run on the exit of any of these corners. He pushes out hard to the wide line there. Matt Neal just thinking about where he could try and potentially make this move. He runs out onto the off track of the circuit there, pushing hard. He's got off tracks to spare. He is going to use them as they fight for the lead. I thought that was brake lights for a moment on Johansson. It looked like the lights came on, but I think that was just the headlights or the rear lights on the car illuminating due to the conditions. But David Johansson here getting onto the brakes. He is holding on to this lead ahead of Matt Neal right now. We saw in race number 1, Neal was pushing a lot harder than Johansson. Is Johansson going to do the same here and take it a bit easier? Johansson slides! Johansson has a huge moment there. He can invite Matt Neal in on the final corner as Hayden Ahmed and Riley Pogue battle it out for 6th place. Is Matt Neal going to make the move? He looks to the inside, and for the second time in 2 weeks, Johansson loses race victory in the final corner. Matt Neal wins, but surely, like we saw last week, a penalty is going to be thought about there. I'm not going to judge it, but David Johansson crosses the line in 2nd ahead of Geyser. James Leroux in 3rd. The battle for 6th is on, and this is crucial. Who is going to take 6th? Hayden Ahmed takes 6th by 8 thousandths of a second. Hayden Ahmed will be starting the final race of the day from pole position. Riley Pogue missing out from the invert pole by 8 thousandths of a second. Paisley Knight took home 8th, Adam Lazarus Smith in 9th. Lolius took home 10th. It was 11th for Cam McKay. Eduardo Zamora took home 12th. Zalaborski in 13th. Pete Paver took home 14th. James Potter took home the final points of the day. Jan Kasparek came home in 16th position, and Adam Baker will be the last man across the line. 2 races down, 1 to go, but what a last lap moment that one was, and one that will surely be looked at the end of the whole weekend as well, because that one, as we watch it just one last time here, was a big moment. I mean, there's just no words, is there? Matt Neal coming home to take the win in that one. Right then, with our inverted grid, let's have a look at how the final race of the day is going to start. And as I say, the top 6 are going to be inverted, which means Hayden Ahmed is going to start this one from pole position. Jan Mild from 2nd. James Leroux will start this one in 3rd position ahead of Ben Kaiser. It will then be 5th position for David Johansson. Matt Neal will start this one in 6th. Riley Pogue missing out on the invert pole, starting 7th ahead of Paisley Knight, Lazarus Smith and Lolius. Then it will be McKay and Zamora. And the back of the field will be Zalaborski, Paver, Potter, Kasparek, Adam Baker and Lawrence Didapa. We're prepared to go racing for the 3rd and final race of the day. And we are green. That felt like a very long time sat on the line there for the start of race number 11. But we are away and up towards turn number 1. And already we're going to go 3 wide into turn 1 in a fight for 2nd position. It's Leroux and Johansson that run side by side and off the line here. Johansson finds his way up to 2nd place already. And Matt Neal, after winning race number 2, is out of the 3rd and final race of the day. It has not been a start that he would have wanted. He's got a meatball flam, major suspension damage on the front right hand side there. He's got a number of side-by-side battles. James Potter in 10th position has got a black flag and will need to come down pit lane within the first 3 laps of asking. Zamora here looking to try and get up the inside of James Lazarus Smith, who's on a recovery from a bad tyre call at the end of race number 1. Lazarus Smith up 2 places at the start of this one. Cam McKay already up 5 positions at the start of this race. We'll have to have a look at what happened to Matt Neal at turn number 1 once we've all settled down, but Zamora still to the inside this time, trying to hold it on to Paisley Knight. Paisley Knight, however, gets to the outside, and here comes James Potter to try and switch it across to the inside line now. Zamora stuck on that outside, just finds himself tumbling down the field as Paisley Knight looking to try to get up the inside of James Lazarus Smith. There's contact between the 2 drivers. Lazarus Smith off the circuit there, and as he comes back on, he collects Zamora. Zamora collects Pogue, and it is a big wreck. The opening lap of asking, it has not gone well for a number of our drivers out there. Pete Paver looking to hold on the inside of Zalaborski. He'll just swap around to the outside line. And he does manage to take 9th position, and on the opening lap of asking, after losing out the race victory in race number 2, Johansson has already found his way back through into the lead of the race here in the 2nd race of the day, and it was a big issues on the opening lap. Let's have a little look then at Matt Neal on his opening lap issues here. He gets a really slow launch off the line, and it was collection there as we went almost 4 wide, and it was a massive hit with the barrier for Matt Neal. Then, of course, we saw Zamora and Pogue collected. We'll have to throw it back a little bit. We can see the contact up ahead with Paisley Knight and Lazarus Smith. Lazarus Smith runs out wide, and as he comes back onto the circuit, actually wasn't contacted, didn't look like. It looked like Zamora, more than anything, actually got the puddle. Let's see if we can see here. I don't think there was contact. No, there wasn't. He caught the puddle, and then it sent him down into Pogue. Fortunately, everyone else avoiding. But an opening lap to forget for Pogue, Neil, and Zamora. Pogue out of this race, as that was Jan Mild looking for a podium position. But James LaRoe swaps him back and gets back into third right now as the Retro Motorsport driver is in the middle of this Sim Racing Grid fiasco. The Sim Racing Grid is currently first, third and fifth. Could they potentially try and lock out a podium? The only time we've seen a podium lockout from a single team was Alpha Corsa back at Knock Hill last season. Can we see it happen for Sim Racing Grid? Now, James Lazarus Smith, I've just noted, has gone out in this race on dry compounder tyres. Matt Neal has come back out on dries. Interesting to see if that is going to work out for them. I mean, they're both towards the rear of the field. I mean, Lazarus Smith have fallen to the rear of the field. But, I mean, Matt Neal pitted. He might as well risk it, but that was rain just a little bit. And again, which means any hope of this circuit drying up, surely for these drivers, is gone. As Jan Mile gets a great run out of the final corner, so does Ben Kaiser, and they both get past James LaRoe, who falls to fifth position. Jan Mile here looking to try and get a really strong result. Hayden Ahmed in second position right now, as Mile goes off at turn number one. He did get up onto the podium, but he's run off wide. Kaiser gets through, but here comes LaRoe to look to the inside of turn number two. James LaRoe trying to get back into fourth position, and he certainly does so. Jan Mild has finished both races so far in fifth. Is he going 3 for 3 in that fifth position? Let's find out. As it stands in the live race standings, the championship will be going the way of David Johansson. He'll have a hefty sum of points to his name between himself and Matt Neal, who will currently be holding on to second. Joe Coffin will get points reinstated for third, so will Thomas Brown for fourth. And Hayden Ahmed, as it stands, will be holding on to a top 5 position in this championship. It'll be interesting to see how that is affected as the race continues on. Lazarus Smith continued to have issues in this one as he went straight on, and Jan Mild and James LaRoe having a bit of a ding-dong battle here through the middle of the course, and that's Mild to the inside of LaRoe. LaRoe trying to hold it on that outside line there, and he certainly does so. At the moment, Mild having to hold on to that ever-familiar fifth place. He looks to the inside potentially on James LaRoe, and he won't make that one work. Lazarus Smith has come down pit lane. He has put the wet tyres on after trying another bold strategy call in this one. Lilius trying to get up the inside of Pete Paver there. We'll get all over the rear of Paver. They've got Janis Stolaborski just behind as well. And this is the battle at the rear end of the top 10 as we come through Bomb Hole and head up towards the end of the lap. 8 more minutes left on the board at the moment, as we will be seeing, I expect, another 5 or so laps as we get on to the brakes here. And that is Pete Paver holding on ahead of Marek Lolius for now, but Lolius gets a great exit and is going to get all over the rear here. Could he potentially make the move past? He looks to the left as the rain is falling hard. He's going to try and make it side by side on the outside of Pete Paver. He switches across to the inside, and he's just not enough room for him. And Lolius backs out of that one. Could invite Stolaborski in for a potential overtake here, but Stolaborski will just have to go and slow down on that wider line. Maybe the switchback could work out for him if you get the speed on the exit from Janis Stolaborski. He's running behind at the moment and will have to remain behind in 10th position. He's got a nice 5.5 seconds gap back down to Jan Kasparak though. Talking of the Jans, he's watching a fight between the two teammates go on ahead as Ben Kaiser has just had a mistake and gone very deep up ahead there. That's allowed James Leroux back through into third. Jan Miles still running in fifth position though. For a moment he's up the inside of Kaiser, looks to try and just duck up the inside there again. Couldn't quite make that one stick, and Jan Mild is going to have to remain in fifth position here as this race passes its halfway point and approaches towards the end of the evening. Pete Paver finds himself off of the circuit in what is becoming a tradition in this evening's races. Pete Paver and the grass are the combination to beat. He falls down to 10th position as Lolius moves up to 8th. And Stoloborski looking like he might try and make the move here up to 8th position. He's all over the rear end in P number 9, but he'll go for a slightly different line onto the brakes here and will stay behind for the time being as the gaps are relatively similar between them all. Matt Neal did come down pit lane for dry tyres. He pitted. He's back out right now. Crucially, for Matt Neal, he is on for a points finish. If he finishes his race, he will get a single point out of this one. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it could be extremely helpful in the championship. Right, this is Jan Mild trying to chase down Ben Kaiser here for 4th position. Mild looks towards the inside. He's going to have to remain behind, but I think someone's just gone off the circuit. Did James Leroux run wide at turn number 1? He certainly did, kicking up a lot of grass there. We'll invite Kaiser back into this one. Mild can see it and thinking, I really want to make this move. I really want this podium. Cam McKay's gone around at the final turn, and he finds himself to a stop. Will he get himself going again, though? Yes, he does. He gets into gear eventually and gets himself restarting this one. James Isaac Smith out of this race means that Matt Neal has now been promoted up to 14th in this one, which is crucial for his championship. It's only 2 points, but it can help out towards the end as Mild goes to the inside of Ben Kaiser from what was quite far back. The door was not open for him then, so he's going to have to wait behind for the time being as he head into the final 5 minutes of asking here. But Hayden Ahmed has pulled away from this battle for 3rd position as well and looking to take a 2nd position, which would be a career best result for him, as that's to the inside for Jan Mild on Ben Kaiser. Kaiser ran deep. There's a little bit of a nudge between them, but Jan Mild moves up into 4th position, and Jan Mild will now be looking to try and keep Kaiser behind, look up towards Leroux. Kaiser, however, looking to try to get to the inside. It's a bit too much water on the inside to be able to run flat out without aquaplaning there, and he moves back across the right-hand side. Can Mild now close the 8/10 of a second up towards Leroux and fight for a 3rd? Remember, he was up in 3rd for just a moment before he ran off the circuit, so could he have the opportunity to move his way back up towards the podium here and take 3rd position? Listen to the rain in this one as we come around the final corners and up towards the last turn on the track. This is the fight right now for 3rd position. It is being led by James Leroux. Jan Mild sits in 4th and Ben Kaiser in 5th. Now, Mild has had what would I say, one of his strongest races evenings here today. Of course, he did take a victory at Donington. That was very much based on the fact that he started a race on wet tyres when everyone else was on dries. This, however, has not been down to strategy. This has been down to pure pace that he has managed to take 2 5th positions. He's running in 4th right now and looking to get what would be his 1st podium position that was not that race win at Donington. It would be the 1st podium on pure pace. But this has been, even if he doesn't get the podium, an absolutely storming drive from Jan Mild. And I was talking about it earlier. I was saying the drivers, the familiar names that we've seen since the winter series and heading into this spring series, just seeing the same names, just finding pace and speed every time they head out into these cars. It's been amazing to see, and Jan Mild, sitting in that Audi, has been doing a great job so far this season, and he is having an absolute evening. Eduardo Zamora goes off at the end of Bentley Straight. He finds himself spinning, but does get himself back onto the racing course. He's in 13th position. Of course, everyone finishing this race will take points. I think Classic Smith will still get a single point there for finishing in 15th position, despite being out of this one. I don't think that he needs to worry about that one, but something has happened there in the time that we were looking at 4th position, because the gap between Mild and Leroux has increased to 2 seconds here, which is, I don't know how that one's happened, because it doesn't look like they've, I'm looking and it does not look like they've had a mistake. They haven't run off the circuit so much. Let's have a look here. This is Leroux, Mild behind. No, I think it's just been a strong lap from James Leroux, because he has closed in 1.6 seconds behind Hayden Ahmed now. And with a minute left on the clock, that was a slide from Kaiser. Almost turned into a move up the inside of Jan Mild. It didn't. The white flag is out here, though, with just a minute left on the clock. David Johansson, he couldn't take victory in race number 2 on track. That will be looked at post-race, no doubt. Will it be a triple for him if he is reinstated the race victory that he lost out to by Matt Neal, of course? But right now, David Johansson looking to try and take this victory in the 3rd race of the day, and what will be a 10th victory, no, an 11th victory in series history. It will be a 5th victory, a 4th victory this season, which will be the most of any. Thomas Brown has obviously taken 3 victories, but 4 victories will go the way of David Johansson if he can get around this final lap without too many issues. And he's in the middle of the lap right now, doesn't have too much further to go. Zalaborski chasing down Paver, chasing down Lolius, chasing down McKay here in a fight for 7th position. They can see the white flag, they know this is their last opportunities, and that is going to be a move there from Paver to try and get the inside of Lolius. He goes extremely deep. Is Zalaborski going to be able to get the speed on the exit? No, but Paver carries the speed here and could carry around the outside of Marek Lolius in the fight for 8th and 9th position. Lolius slides. Contact with Paver. Paver will now have the inside as they switch over. And Pete Paver moves through to 8th, but Lolius does the switch across to try and gain back that position, who had the inside line as they come up towards the back straight here. As Lolius to the inside, Pete Paver pushes it on the outside line there. And that is Zalaborski behind, just thinking, where do I go? And they all settle in to a single line as they head up towards the final sector. But the man who's defending his championship fight has been knocked away from race victory in 2 races. And he has won the other 4. David Johansson wins round number 12 and his 4th win of the season in 6 races that he has competed in. Hayden Ahmed, take a bow for a dominant run himself in 2nd place. James Leroux in his debut evening takes the podium, and Jan Mild, take a bow yourself. 2 5th places and a 4th. Ben Kaiser comes across the line in 5th. It's a battle behind as Cam McKay comes across, coming across the line in 7th behind James Basie Knight. Pete Paver looking to try and take that 7th, can't do it. He crosses the line in 8th, out of Lolius. Zalaborski comes home in 10th. James Potter will cross the line in 11th position. That is Matt Neal a lap down in 14th. Jan Kasparek will take points in this last race of the day in 12th place. And Neal actually gets past Zamora on the last lap of asking, it looks like, with Zamora down pit lane. I cannot tell. They're both displayed as P14. We will have to have a look at what the results are from that one. With race number 3 done, let's have a final look at our race results here after 3 of 3 races. David Johansson wins ahead of Aidan Ahmed. James Rowe rounding out the podium, allowing Sim Racing Grid to show some strong pace once again. Jan Mild comes across line in fourth. Like I said, some really great racing for him. 2 fifth places and a fourth. Ben Kaiser getting fifth ahead of James Paisley Knight. Cam McKay came home in seventh, had a Pete Paver. Mavic Lolius came home in ninth, and Janice Stolaborski rounded out your top 10. James Potter took home 11th, had a Jan Kasparek. Eduardo Zamora took home 13th. And even though he did finish in pit lane, he did come home in 13th with Matt Neal crossing line in 14th position. James Lazarus-Smith out of the race in 15th place. Out of the points, out of the race was Riley Pogue. Baker and Didapa did not start the third and final race of the day. With that being said then, let's have a little look at how our championship stands at the end of this one. And David Johansson, with 2 weeks counting of 4, is leading the championship right now with 116 points to his name. Matt Neal sits with 94 points to his name in second place. It is Joe Coffin holding on to third, and we see 3 different teams in the top 3. We then start to see the repeats as Thomas Brown sits in fourth ahead of Aidan Ahmed, Ben Kaiser in sixth, and then Riley Pogue sitting there in seventh position right now ahead of Thomas Batchelor. Jan Miles from Great Racing. Today he finds himself in 9th position in the championship, and Carl Thompson sits in 10th place. 11th place right now is the way of James Paisley Knight. Cam McKay holding on to 12th ahead of James Lazarus-Smith. James LaRoe finds himself all the way up in 14th position after his debut. Marek Lolius in 15th ahead of Adam Baker. Gregory Speakman sits in 17th ahead of Pete Paver. Jana Stolaborski in 19th, and James Potter rounds out the top 20, both of those on 31 points apiece. Mark Hughes sits in 21st position. Eduardo Zamora in 22nd, ahead of Ollie Wicks and Phil Carcola. Lawrence Didapa will sit in 25th position with 6 points to his name on debut. Then we have Jan Kasparek in 26th, Adam Neal in 27th, and Carl Marcinison in 28th. Adam Duff, the only driver now who has taken part in this series to yet get points onto the board. With that being said then, we will return for the next round of competition in a week's time as we head to the Scottish Hills for the first time this season. Knockhill on March 15th. We'll be out in the Porsche Cups from 6 p.m. GMT next Sunday. We'll be out in the touring cars from 7 p.m. Make sure you hit the follow button here on Joseph Wright TV to be notified when we go live. It is our second super weekend of the year next week, so make sure that you hit that follow button so you can catch all 6 broadcasts in 3 days. Also, make sure you head across to our social media channels and our YouTube channel as well. YouTube, you can find us at Joseph Wright TV, as you can on Instagram and on Facebook as well. And if you want to find us over on TikTok, then follow us at Beehive Bill. We will see you next week then, and I hope you have a fantastic evening. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.